Paul, welcome back, brother.
It's good to be back.
Can you believe 4 years since we did series 1?
Yeah, a lot's happened. I feel like because we see each other so much, so it feels like that time hasn't been that long.
Yeah. And I think just the change in the world in 4 years has been extraordinary.
Yeah.
So much shifting.
Yeah.
So Shift on Purpose series 2. Wow.
We're back.
And today we're talking about inner authority, right?
Why do leaders lose their inner authority?
What do you want to say about it?
I think it's important to know that not all of leadership is planned out. All right, so we have a concept that we go and then see into reality. We have a vision. We start to explore that, whether it's in our personal, professional life, and that we start to get the gears turning, the wheels moving, and we're on something. We don't always take a second to reflect back on how that's going.
Yeah.
No, are we in alignment with what we set out to achieve? So there's a lot of sort of myth in that the wheels are turning, so we're achieving something, not knowing really if the direction is right.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that comes back down to that leader not recognizing their inner authority, or almost acting on autopilot.
Yeah. And as you and I know so well from our own life journey, from the thousands and thousands of clients we've had the privilege of coaching and working with confidentially, life is often what happens while you're busy making plans, right? And then circumstances flow around us.
Yeah.
So let's jump into this question. How can you be authentic to your own vision? Not how can I predict what's going to happen next, but how can I have clarity of intention and purpose so that my vision, my inner knowing, my deep calling as leader, and let's frame the word leader, not, gee whiz, I've got a CEO title and a whole lot of luxurious perks of my work role. Leader is a person of integrity and caliber that wants to bring their whole self to a setting. Be the most committed mum and nurturer of other people. That person's a leader.
Yeah.
Be the most inspiring contributor to a community organisation. That person's a leader. So when we think about, mostly our client base has been people in a work setting looking to step into their next level of potential. What is it that takes them off track from their vision? What is it that stops them being purposeful and intentional in everything they're doing? What do you see?
Fear. I think we trust. We in the beginning we trust our intuition, and you see when kids are playing, they're just very intuitive. Yeah. The more we learn, the more we grow, the more fear creeps in, the more doubt creeps in. We start to change our behaviors because of what may go wrong versus what may go right.
Yeah.
So when I look at someone that's sort of not living with that inner authority and not being their authentic self, it's someone that's sort of living in a scarcity sort of versus abundant mindset.
Yeah.
You see them, we're taking risk, but we're not stepping in like we used to. And I see that, say if you had a business, that business achieves some growth. A lot of that early growth is built just purely on intuition.
Yeah.
And then you get the growth and you build out the staff and you start, this machine is turning, and then you start looking at, we better make data-based decisions. Like how do I operate based on the data I have? And I think that there's a misalignment with your inner intuition. And that's it. It's difficult because a lot of leaders aren't aware of it. So they're not achieving what they want to be achieving, and they're not sure why, but they don't know that they're out of alignment.
Yeah, and then conforming to the status quo rather than stepping over the line into their next level of identity, right?
Yeah.
I'm reminded of that concept from psychology, really, called learned helplessness, where because the world's changing so rapidly, because so many things are not really in our control in a linear, predictive way, people use a really limiting phrase. They say, that's the new normal. That's just the way things are. And if we're not careful, that creates not what you referenced, a fear-based response. But deeper than that, it creates a mindset of victim mentality. And learned helplessness is an assumption that the negative pattern that I might have experienced in one part of my life is going to transfer into all parts of my life, and that's a fait accompli that I'm powerless to do much about. So that is a perfect example of some psychological mechanisms, mindset shifts in a downward spiral that lead to loss of inner authority.
Yeah. But you have to be aware. You have to be aware of your inner authority to recognize when you're stepping outside of that. So there has to be some point of reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like the easiest way you could do that is schedule it into a calendar.
Yes.
You know, like you got to have these sort of moments of reflection, and that could be every month or every 3 months. I mean, I know I do it with a few business groups, so we do it 3 times a year, every 4 months. And we all get together over 3 days, and we really take the time out to say, hey, like when we do this mastermind series, like, are we on track to where we want to be? You know, and I think when you get there too, everyone feels a little bit tired. You know, no one really wants to get there. And then once you're there, you're like, oh, I'm re-energized now. You know, and I think what I see in people is that the passion comes back. They start talking about what they've been up to from a family perspective, and you see the passion for their kids or the passion for the trip that they're about to take. You start talking about the business, and you see the passion for why they got into it and what they want to change in their staff. And so therefore you like start looking at these things with positivity. Right? But you know, I think that that's amplified because they're in a group of people that also want the same thing. I think for a lot of our listeners, they're not going to have that group.
Yes.
So maybe that's one of these things where it's like you are the product of the 5 most closest people around you. It's
absolutely true, and you're tapping into ecosystem as well, right? How do we uplift our vibration, our intentional behaviours, positive if you take a motivational view, what uplifts and inspires me, and how do I align with that, and then how do I draw the right people who resonate at that level, instead of learned helplessness is changing gears to come back down to the lowest common denominator and normalising that as if that's the way life has to be. That's just what it is. I'm also thinking about rituals, like you and I are so big on rituals. You know, what are we doing physically, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually to ritualise and embody patterns that give us clarity of intention and purpose and holding on to our vision. And vision, again, isn't I'm going to build the biggest entrepreneurial business in the next decade. Vision can be I'm going to be the best mum and dad for the children I'm raising and that I love. Or I'm going to be someone who makes a positive difference in educational pathways for underprivileged youth, whatever. The power of stepping into your identity isn't determined by the role title or level of resource you have. It's to do with, have you ritualised grounding you, breathing and visualising techniques. One of my non-negotiables is the pattern of yoga, meditative reflection, energetic stretching, 7 days a week, first thing in the morning. It's as natural as waking up and cleaning my teeth. Just do it. Do it. Just do it.
And that gives you that moment. It's to be at peace, clear your minds, and reset. And what you're touching on is that you said it before about vibration and energy. If you're going to be your best self, you have to understand where you are energetically during the day. You have to have these check-in points. And you can plan them around like school drop-off, you can plan them around getting to work, toolbox meetings, whatever it is. But you have to check in with yourself energetically. And I find when great leaders do this, they start to bring their team in on this. So it's like they get home and they start talking to their family, and it's like, hey, give me a check-in. Like, where do you sit on a scale of 1 to 10?
And that beautiful example of, let's say you're working a typical Monday to Friday and you're still in the office a lot. When you leave, if it's been a busy, chaotic day, and maybe some of your confidence and clarity of intention's been fragmented and cluttered, what's the energy you want to take into the family home when you hop out of the vehicle, the train, whatever, and mindful of how do you shift out of a negative state back into a positive state, and again hold that inner authority. Like my goal would be, an inner authority coming from a feeling of love and care and nurture, rather than anger, irritation and frustration, or overload or fear or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just that word, authority, I think people struggle with that. They have some tension with that I actually have some authority.
Yeah.
Because I think once you recognize that you are in the driver's seat, you are making these decisions. When I said about autopilot before, is that I've been on it as well, where you realize that you're just going with the motions and you haven't been that cognizant in the decision-making process.
Yeah. This is life happens while you're busy making plans, and all of a sudden you're in a totally different destination, right?
So then to use my authority and say, I'm going to be almost methodic about this. This is what I want. This is how I can achieve it. Here's what needs to change. Do you know how much responsibility that puts on me?
Yeah, but
so that can be a lot. That authority can be a lot.
Yeah. And you ask yourself the question quite consistently, if I'm correct, what is Paul willing to give up, let go of, no longer do, to have what he really wants? What are those limiting patterns and beliefs?
Yeah. They say you can be anything, but you can't be everything.
Yeah.
You can't have it all at once.
Yeah. Because
something's got to give.
Because one of the themes about that, and inner authority connects to it. Your next level of identity, potential, successful outcome, mine, anyone's, very difficult to achieve that if we're still attached to the old self, right? That the identity and purpose and power of who you are now will not exactly be the right container and energy vehicle for you to get to this next level of possibility.
Yeah.
And
there's so much to break out of that, because I know what I struggle with in that moment. And I've got this friend of mine I'm dealing with at the moment with this subject of growth. And she's like, I'm going through this growth phase, I'm growth in this. And I said, sometimes it's like peeling back an onion. So you've lost more than you started with. You lost those outer layers, and yet you get to the core of it, which is everything that you needed. So when we're talking about these subjects, a lot of people think I have to have more, or there's more information I have to have, or there's more meditation retreats I have to do, there's this and that, I have to change everything, when sometimes it's just allowing yourself to let go of a few things.
Yes.
Give them up, because all of that is inside of you.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm so big on the passion thing, is that you can tell when people are passionate about what they do, because energetically it comes across.
Yeah.
Everything changes. And you see that when you walk into a business. It could be, a restaurant, the way that the staff serve you, the way that the back of house is operating. It's like that energy shift takes over. So in my life, it's like my goal is to be my best self, right? But in doing that, I'm a beacon to others to say, hey, I give you permission to do it too.
Yeah, okay.
Like you don't need to follow me, but if I'm shining my light and you can see it, then I also give you permission to do the same.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Love and positive energy is contagious, and on the reverse negative side, so is fear and war and aggression.
Yeah.
Both contagious. We used to talk about it as the black wolf and the white wolf, right? Feed the white wolf so it will grow more. The love, the kindness, the nurture. Give the black wolf less and less energy. Don't fight yourself and beat yourself up about, I got it wrong, I'm a fool, what's wrong with me, how dare it be like that? Just, I'm giving that less and less energy. I'm not feeding the black wolf, I'm feeding the white wolf. I'm also reminded of emotional rungs on the ladder. You remember, for better or worse, a lot of good people who want to amplify their leadership are still bombarded by what we might loosely call the madness of the modern world, right? Chaos, crisis, dishonesty, upheaval. and it might sound like a really big ask, Peter and Paul sitting on the couch having a yarn here. It might sound a big ask. Well, every day I'm going to have more love, more light, more peace, more beauty, the top rungs of the emotional ladder, right? More joy. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, meaning if my current identity, default emotional rungs on the ladder is most days I'm waking up feeling a little bit anxious, irritated, frustrated, and angry, just acknowledge it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're trapped or lost, or your inner authority has been evaporated. It just means the challenge for this day, this week, this month is how can I move 1 or 2 rungs up the ladder?
Yeah.
Not how do I wake up full of joy and
No.
absolute excitement. Maybe the shift for a person who's feeling a little bit of learned helplessness, consistently angry, frustrated and disappointed, and looks at the outside world and says that's because the world's crazy and I've got no control over it. Well, let's get some tools and strategies and rituals into that person's toolkit, where the goal would be, for the next few weeks, I'm going to move from angry and frustrated to curious and open to possibility.
Yeah.
Or if I could hold the rung of being curious and open to possibility for a month or 2, and notice that now, every time I slip back into angry, irritated, frustrated, it's nearly always because someone else is putting fear and doubt around my environment, or a news report is telling me the 10 most dreadful things I've got to worry about, or I'm doom scrolling yet again. If that person could catch themselves doing it and just shift back up 1 rung of the ladder, then by the end of a month, that default state would have lifted. They'd be more inclined to be coming from a place of curious, open to possibility perhaps. Doesn't mean they're still full of love, light and joy. Their inner depth is there, it's just not externally available to them, right?
And it's also like not just going through the feeling. So those things you spoke about, anger and frustration, and everyone experiences them.
Yep.
So I'd say to acknowledge that first. Just acknowledge the fact that you're experiencing something that everyone else is experiencing. It's not unique to you, it's across the board. And the first step of that is just acknowledging that these things are coming up. Because a lot of people want to disassociate themselves. Oh, I'm angry, so I'm just an angry person.
Or I'm angry and I'll get a skinful of grog to try and...
Yeah. Like I'm either going to escape from it, like at some point I'm going to disassociate. It's not going to be my responsibility anymore. That's just who I am, that's my identity.
Or I'm not buzzing with joy, so I'll get a little ball of cocaine and away I'll go.
Yeah. There's always like, it's in a pill or a bottle, that's the answer. No. I would say like the biggest success I have is just is if you're being triggered, if you're like, oh, I'm angry, just acknowledge that you're angry. Over the next week, start looking into, oh, is there something that is there a recurring theme here, which is what you touched on? Because the trigger is important. You need the trigger to know how to course correct. If we're not willing to look at it, we can't. Where are we going to correct to?
Yeah.
And anything positive from that point, any goal you put, it just doesn't seem believable, right? If I put a big goal, change my life, and and I'm like, I'm not willing to accept the person I am, or that I created the habits that led me there, right? I'm just this angry person, I was born this way. Then if I say that there's any other life other than that, it's just instantly non-believable. But if I can just acknowledge it and just accept that we all have it, practice some self-forgiveness, see what's starting to trigger me, it gives you that hope, right?
Yeah.
And then lean into that, because all along this point, there's been a calling in you. And I'm very passionate about this. You've been called to do something. There's this intuition. There's this inner voice that's telling you, this is what I like. Do more of this. And we kind of, when we don't know how to deal with that, we kind of push it down or push it away. And we try to silence it. And I say, if you just give it a couple of seconds to open up, right? And then you recognize, oh, that felt good. Open it up and start leaning into it. That's what your intuition is. That's what it's asking you to do.
So to use that as a like a mantra or phrase, I forgive myself for past mistakes and misunderstandings, and I look to rebuild healthier, stronger relationships, maybe, right? Yeah. And that's powerful as long as it's not just words, right? So embedded in that is an energy and identity shift, and a change in your rituals, and a holding yourself to account that next time I slip up, I'll apologise, seek to make amends, and take personal responsibility for my role in that, right? Yeah.
And so the thing I'll leave you on, and Peter's going to have his own thing, is that the best success I've seen in this is this concept of the best version of you. And so if I'm sitting there in the morning and I've had an awkward situation with my son, and we're about to go to school, and I'm not acting in the way that I want to act, and I've been triggered and I realize that I'm frustrated and something's not working here, I just take a second and I look across at this best version of myself and say, well, what's that best Paul capable of, right? I might not be capable of it right now, but if I know that there's a step to take, that there's a better path of action to take, sometimes I can just let go and let that one take over. So I would say, like, familiarize yourself with, like, what's the best version of you?
Yep. Okay. I'm just
Your takeaway.
thinking about my final comment would be mistakes and setbacks are not leadership failures. They're just recalibration reminders. Yeah. The only way to go beyond your current level of capacity is to take the risk to step into the allegedly impossible. Yeah. It'd be impossible for me to wake up happy and motivated because of all this trauma, pain and victim experiences I've had in different parts of my life. Well, we can extend empathy and compassion to people who've had enormous pain and suffering. In our own journeys, Paul, we've had immense life-changing setbacks around financial chaos, relationship breakdowns, health scares. No one I've ever experienced who's authentic about the journey of life would say they've had rose-coloured glasses and an ideal safe experience. So pain and trauma and negative experiences are worthy of respect and need to be acknowledged, but they don't define who you are.
No.
And
but
that's
that tension can help you find it.
Yeah. Okay. So in our next episode, we're going to talk about tension, identity friction, and if we hold tension for too long.
Sorry, can you just say that in the last episode? Can you just do that next part, just looking into the camera, or just not looking over to your notes when you say that part?
Yeah, done. Have we used up 20 minutes?
Yeah, but
all right.
You can still just finish that final in the next episode, and then I can just cut all this part out and make it as close to 20 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, so it's exciting that we know in our next episode we're going to talk about identity friction. Where does this burnout and overload and chaos come from? The kind of snap, quick response to that is, it's because the world's so crazy and I haven't got enough money and I'm not as fit and healthy as I want to be and blah, 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 blah. Yes, that's the surface response we often hear, but deeper beneath that, what's really driving burnout? What's really holding you and me back from stepping into our next level of potential? Paul used the reference that he feels he wants to illuminate, I expand in love, abundance and success every day as I try to inspire those around me to do the same, but I don't have to walk other people's path, I just have to walk my path. That's the calling of identity.
Yeah.
So, looking forward to session 2,
thank
brother.
Thank you. Yeah. I'll see you then.
Welcome back.
Cheers.